Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm so excited that you've made it to the last color video. We've been all the way around the wheel, and this video prompt is really going to help you hone all of your color skills that you have learned up until this point. And I'm so excited to get into it. Today's video is a monochromatic still life. Now the word monochromatic, mono means one, chroma means color. So you are going to compose your own still life of objects that are all in the same color family, but different hues, shades of one another. I want you to choose some objects that are more muted in that color tone. I want you to do more saturated, more yellowish, and then more reddish, depending on which colors you're choosing. Try to get some good color range in your still life. Now, if you're a beginner, I recommend that you only choose 3 objects. And the reason is because you're going to have shadows and you're going to have highlights. And so it's really going to be more colors than what you think. You're going to be mixing various shades and temperatures of the color that you've chosen. So pick 3 objects, arrange them in a still life. Here's what I've done. And I have it right over here in the corner of my studio. It's off camera. And if you look down at my paper, I've actually cheated a little bit. I was having a ton of trouble trying to get the perspective right in my other drawing that I did. So what I've done today is I've made a color map ahead of time. And if you are not confident in your drawing skills yet, you could do this method as well. All you need is some transfer paper, some painter's tape, a ballpoint pen, some scissors to cut your paper, and you need a photograph of your still life. Transfer paper, basically put it on the back of your photo so that when you lay that on your paper and press down with a ballpoint pen along all the lines of your image, it will transfer that through pressure to the back side. So I'll show you what it does here. It's just a coincidence that I've used a ballpoint red pen. This pen is the same color here as this transfer paper. So you will see here that I've transferred this image through putting the back of the transfer paper with the pigment side down on the paper, and then I've put the image on top, and all I've done is I have traced the lines. And now I know where all of my color boundaries are. But I will be looking in real time at the colors that I see here in real life, because guess what? Our eyes are amazing. They're amazing creations. Our eyes see more colors than any camera, that any video equipment can ever pick up. Isn't that amazing? So I want you to be able to color discern in real time. So if that means that you create this system so that you don't have a barrier, that's great. Do that. So now that you have seen my method of how I've gotten this image down on paper, we're going to get right into it. And I want you to pay close attention to the colors of the shadows on your object, the colors of the highlights. And yes, maybe your 3 objects are all the same color family, but they're sure not the same color. And they're going to be reflecting light depending on the type of surface that they are, the texture that it is. So it's going to get really interesting, and I can't wait for you to try it. Let's jump in together. All right, the first thing I want to look at is I will probably find the lightest color that I see on my little cat statuette. And honestly, I think what I see is a little muted mint green, and it's even lighter than that. So I'll transfer it here to see if I can get it to be lighter. What I want you to do also is to use your paper to test out the color, and I think I got it. I wanted you guys to be able to see exactly what I'm seeing here, and so that's also helpful when we're talking about perspective. I'm going to go to this area and I'm going to fill in this part of the book, which is It's around this color that I've already mixed, but it's a little warmer. So I'll add a little bit of quinacridone gold to warm it up. And let's see how transparent it is. Okay, that's pretty close. I think the book, okay, I think it has a little more brown in it. So before this completely dries on me, I'm gonna add a little bit of this brown color and we will be good. Working quickly in watercolor is important to not get all of those streaky lines. If I want to come back and make this darker green that you're seeing, I can do that later as a finishing touch. And with the rest of the cat here, I think I could probably use this hooker green right next to this. I want you to try to stay general if you can with your colors. I know it's hard, but one tactic that I use is I put my still life far away from me so that I'm not looking at all the little details. I have it far enough away that I can generalize the color shapes. And so try that if you are having trouble, if you're getting lost in the details. That would be a really good move to do that. And so you'll see this is how you begin to represent a reflective surface, is that all these white areas that I'm leaving open are areas where the light is reflecting off of this cat statuette. Okay, we're gonna go with that and see how that dries. I think if I take this brown, that area is fairly olive green colored, and we'll do this. Just fill it in. I really do have a sap green color, which I'm gonna see if I can mix it with this hooker's green to get kind of a sap green color, since I don't quite have that in my palette. That's not quite it. Needs more warmth. Use your paper to test your colors. You really don't see a color fully until it's down on paper. I had some Viridian in there, possibly some cyan, and a bunch of other things that I'll try to get back to. But with watercolor, actually it goes a long way. So if you just use this up, you can come back and do some darker spots on top if you need to. If you dab your paintbrush off and then come back into it with less water and pigment on your brush, it kind of acts like an eraser. I'm having trouble matching this color, so I'm going to go to a completely opposite side of my paper and work on that area, come back to this area with a fresh mind in a few minutes. I've put some Payne's Gray into this mixture because I know it will make close to the color I need. These little leaves of the mother-in-law's tongue are, at least I think that's what this plant is called. Correct me if I'm wrong. These are looking bluish. This is why it's so important to get to know your colors. The more you know about your color, the more you can manipulate it to do what you want it to do. And you're not so much at the mercy of what the watercolor thinks it wants to do. You don't always have to start with light colors either, because everybody has their own process a different way. If you find that you like to put in your dark colors first, you should definitely try it. I know that a lot of people like to do that, and I think it's a good strategy, especially for some applications. And not everyone paints the same way. You're going to learn your own style through every drawing skill that you pick up. It's exciting because you have a different set of skills than someone else. Maybe someone else has more experience with chalk, and so the skills that they've learned with chalk automatically go into these other drawing skills. Naturally. Okay, here's another technique you can use. Laying down something, and then you could pick it back up again to just give a hint of what you want to. I don't want that to come to the foreground because I think the main point of this is this cat. He's right in the center. He's kind of the star of the show, so we'll keep him there. So now I want to go in with a darker color for his shadows. So now I need to find out what that darker color is. I think his shadows are a little warmer since he has a yellow undertone to his skin. So I'm going to add some burnt sienna to this. Let's see if that's making what I want. He actually has some pink reflections now that I look at his face. Oh, that's better. Okay. I'll do this here. I don't think I've mixed a strong enough color though. It's the right. It's in the right family. I need it to be a little more potent though. I'm gonna go into my sap green. I am remembering that indigo and quinacridone gold made a really nice warm green too. So if this sap green is not going to work for me, I can do that. Okay, I think that's a little better. Every place that's dark on here is what I want to capture with this color. Spend a little bit of time on some background stuff, waiting for that to dry. Fill in this wooden table. I'll show you a technique. You can wet an area, pre-wet it, and it's just a little bit. You're not soaking the paper, but you're working with capillary action to pull your second application of wet stuff onto it's going to pull it into the right spot. You'll see. Okay. Gonna make that brown again. So it's just gonna make it work here. I could probably yellow this up a little bit. My wood is definitely blonder than this, but it could dry a little lighter. So we could just wait and see, actually. Now what I can do to keep this whole composition within the same color family is that I can use some green and some burnt sienna, which I used for the table, mix that to make a nice gray, and then my curtain in the back is gray. So if I do that, that will be a nice muted color in the background to make these greens pop a little bit more. Remember that color is relative, so if I want these to look a little greener, all I have to do is put some gray behind it, and let's see if that works. I think Prussian blue could help me here. Cyan isn't quite doing it for me. We still have something that's a little too green, and I want to go more gray. Better. We'll go with that. So back here, this whole area, and I could have washed some water over it, which would have helped. But if we do it as quick as possible, no one will be the wiser. All right, try not to fiddle with it too much. Checking my color and space to see if I've filled in the right space with my curtain there. And of course, if I were making this drawing in a more professional capacity, I would not have these red lines, but I just wanted to maintain those lines to show you what the transfer paper gave me. And it's fine if you use a pigment liner for your image. In the end, the drawing it'll end up looking a lot better that way. Pigment liner or pencil, whatever you've been using through this course. Okay. I think we have a good idea here. We have a good idea of the background, and do you see how this gray, because we mixed it with some of our greens and our reds, it's already complementing these colors really well. And I think my plant spots are dry, but I don't want to go in there again because I've already put a background here. So because my plant spots are dry, I don't want to accidentally bleed some green into the background. So I'll come back to that when that's dry. What else can we do here then? Well, this cat does have blue eyes, so we can do that. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. So you see what I did there? I patted off my brush first, and then I was able to slurp that paint back up into the brush to remove some of the color. This area is almost dry, so I could put in a little bit of blue back here. That's where my curtain meets my wall. that's looking a little too green. Oh well, sometimes close enough is good enough. Now notice I didn't go into black. I know that the local color of my sound screen back here is black. However, I don't want that to be a stark attention grabber. So if I want it to fit in this composition, I'm going with sepia and barely using any water in there so that it comes out nice and saturated. And compared to everything else, again, color is relative. So compared to everything else, it looks pretty black. And now that part of the wall here wasn't dry. So that's why that black is bleeding into the wall. Can kind of erase it a bit. Okay, and then there was a little bit of black down here. Again, using dark sepia for that area. So let's finally try this plant. Try some Prussian in there, since I've used some Prussian around and about. Okay, that looks pretty good, actually. Let's try that. Yeah, that's the right color. That's what I'm seeing. For some of the shadows on this cat's face, he has some shadows under his chin, and I really need to make his face pop because he's starting to melt into the background a little bit. So I'm going to try making that exaggerated sap green color, since I know he's a little yellower than I thought he was. That's quite blue. I'm going to have to go back in with gold. Okay. Good. I'm gonna get a little of the water out of my brush and then go back in, and I'm hoping that helps me pick up more pigment. Okay, I'm gonna try to look for the darkest areas on this cat and put these in here where I see those. And one thing I'm noticing as I look at this further, there's a really dark line underneath him. So I will come back and make that really apparent so that he pops off that book. You're going to begin to see that you need all these neutral, muted tones in your paintings, because life isn't made up of just bright colors. It's really those in-between tones that makes a good composition. And then there's usually just pops of bright colors here and there. Dark sepia again for right here. For you beginners with a brush out there, this may be a point at which you're thinking, wow, I don't know how to control my brush very well, and it's getting out of hand. Well, I have another course that's mostly about brush drawing. It's my very first drawing course. It's for beginners, and I highly recommend, if you are having trouble controlling your brush, that you check that one out, because we go through very simple, very elementary, foundational brush drawing control techniques. And it's super helpful for getting into these little areas with a fine brush. And this is not a tiny brush, this is a size 10. So I'm just using the very tip because I've practiced holding my hand really gently and guiding the brush to do what I need it to do. Got a little cord here coming down from my light. And so you can see how this is starting to really make our composition. I want to add a dark leaf down here. He snuck in there and I didn't know him. Okay, we've pretty much filled in most of what needs to happen here. All right, I think I've done what I can do here with watercolor. What I might do later is I might go back in with some colored pencils or some crayons and recreate some of these highlights that I took out with glazing him over with a little bit more of a yellow wash. And we're just gonna see what happens when I add in some shadows, some highlights, and maybe I'll show you at the end of the video. But I'm so glad that we've come on this journey together. It really has been a journey. We've gone all the way around the color wheel. You've done this monochromatic still life, and I'm so proud of you for going through this material. You know so much more about color, and now you are ready to go to the next level. Well, hello again. I cannot wait to see which color you chose for your monochromatic still life. But I will say that in this video, you have the challenge of setting up your own composition. If this is something that you have no experience with, that is okay. Just trust your gut, go with what you know, and execute on this project. One thing that might help you after going over this color course is to get into my intermediate video course, because in that course, I do go further into how to build a better composition. We work on things like proportion, and I go over the principles of art and design that will help you make better compositions. That's found over on Gumroad, as well as the rest of this video course. I'm sure I'm gonna see you over there anyway, because I know you're gonna be hungry for more color videos after this. This has been such a good time. All right, get on with grabbing your objects that are from the same color family, build your still life, and get to work. If this is the last time that I'm seeing you though, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I had so much fun working with you. And please send me your work. I love seeing what you guys do. You can do that by going to the contact page on my website at bestowingthebrush.com/contact, or get to me by emailing me at bestowingthebrush@gmail.com. As always, happy drawing, and I'll see you later. Bye.